In a world gone down the drain, you are tasked with delivering the cure for humanity's ails across the country. Do you take the job? Welcome to Summed Up, the series where I take a game or piece of game media, summarize it, and then give it back to you. In this one, I go over The Last of Us. Sarah is woken up in the middle of the night by a phone call from her uncle Tommy asking to get her dad on the phone. She finds him downstairs getting his gun when one of the neighbors busts in through the door and attacks them. Joel, her father, shoots him. Tommy arrives to pick up his brother and niece so they can head to the army roadblocks on the highway. While making their escape, the truck they're in gets T-boned, so they have to continue on foot. But Sarah got badly hurt, meaning that Joel has to carry her. They become overwhelmed by the amount of sick people attacking them, so Tommy stays behind to hold them off. Joel and Sarah make it to the highway and they come across an army officer. Joel tells him that they're not sick, but the officer opens fire on them. They fall downhill, and as the officer readies to finish the job, he gets shot in the head. Tommy has returned to the rescue, but it was too late for Sarah. She got shot and dies in Joel's arms. It's summer, 20 years later, and Joel wakes up in his apartment. His partner Tess arrives to tell him that she's found Robert's location, and they both agree that they should get him now before he moves. They manage to corner Robert and interrogate him. He tells them that he sold their guns to the Fireflies and proposes that they can all go take out the Fireflies and get their guns back. Stating that it's a stupid idea, Tess shoots him in the head. The leader of the Fireflies, Marlene, shows up looking for Robert. Tess tells her that they want their guns back, and Marlene replies that they're gonna have to smuggle something out of the city if they want them back. Marlene takes them to where the cargo is, a little girl named Ellie. They agree to do the job, but Tess wants to see the weapons before they start. The women leave to confirm the payment, while Joel is left to watch over Ellie until Tess returns. That night, Tess comes back. She's seen the guns, and there's a lot of them. As they're making their way out of the city, they get caught by some officers. They start scanning them for infection, but when they get to Ellie, the girl attacks the officers, which leads to the others attacking. Once the officers are down, Tess checks the scanner and sees that Ellie is infected. Ellie argues that she's not and shows them that she got bit 3 weeks back, even though it only takes 2 days to turn. Before they can continue arguing, they're interrupted by a car. The escort that one of the officers called in has arrived. Once the military calls off the pursuit and they're able to catch a breather, Tess asks Ellie what the plan was supposed to be. The girl explains that the Fireflies have their own quarantine zone with doctors trying to find a cure for the infection, and they believe that she is the key to creating a vaccine. When they make it to the drop-off location, all they find is dead Fireflies. Joel wants to call the whole thing off, but Tess refuses. When he questions her motives, she reveals that she's infected. She tells him to get Ellie to Tommy's because he used to be a Firefly, so he'll know where to take the girl. As they argue, a truck arrives with army soldiers. Tess says that she'll stay behind to buy them some time because she will not turn into a monster. The pair then heads to a town where someone that owes Joel some favors lives. When in town looking for Bill, Joel falls to one of the man's traps and is left hanging upside down while infected pour in. Ellie manages to free him, but they're nearly overrun. That is until Bill shows up with a machete and saves them. They get to a safe place where they argue, but Joel convinces Bill to help them get a car, on account of the fact that he owes him. But first, they have to get some supplies from the other side of town, and after Bill's done helping them, they're square. They make it to Bill's armory and load up. The plan is to take the battery from a military truck that crashed in the town and put it in another car, but that's on a side of town where Bill doesn't go because it's crawling with infected. They're gonna need the extra firepower. They make it to the truck, but when Bill checks it, it's empty, and they have infected rushing to where they are. They escape the school that the truck had crashed against and hide out in a house where they happen to find a truck with the battery that they were looking for. After they get the pickup running and Bill confirms that they're square, he tells the pair to get out of his town. While driving through a city, they come across a wounded man asking for help. Joel floors it at the man, saying that he's not even hurt, and the man starts shooting at them while a bunch of others start jumping out of their hiding places. Then a bus rolls down a hill and hits their pickup, sending it careening off and crashing into a store. They're able to fight them off and learn that they were hunters, people that ambush travelers and kill them to steal all their stuff. While they make their way to a bridge that should lead them out of the city, Joel gets overpowered by one of the hunters. Ellie comes in to save him by shooting the guy, at which Joel gets mad. He told her to stay where he had left her, and right now, he's just glad she didn't shoot him by mistake. His anger doesn't last long, as they come to an area that's swarmed with hunters. He hands her a rifle, telling her to cover him while he clears a path for them, and adding that before, when she showed up, the choice had been to kill the hunter or let Joel die. And if you really pay attention, you can almost hear a thank you. They bust into an apartment where Joel gets attacked by a man. Joel gets the upper hand on him, and while beating him, Ellie calls out to him because there's a kid aiming a gun at them. The man tells the kid to lower the gun and introduces himself as Henry. The kid's name is Sam. He points out that he noticed Joel wasn't a hunter because they don't keep kids around, and he was with Ellie. Ellie says that they should team up and get out of the city. Henry likes the idea and tells them that they should all move to their hideout so they can talk safely. Back at their hideout, Henry shows Joel that the bridge is well guarded, but at night it's only a few hunters. That's when they have to make their move. He tells him that they're looking to join up with the Fireflies, at which Joel laughs, and seeing his reaction adds that they're looking for the Fireflies too. At that, Henry tells him that they're supposed to meet up with any other survivors from their group the day after at an abandoned radio tower nearby, so they're leaving that night. If Joel wants to join them, this is their chance. That night, while they're making their escape, the ladder they're using at one point breaks and Joel can't make it up. Henry apologizes and says that they're leaving. Ellie jumps back down to where Joel is, not willing to leave him behind. The pair makes it to the bridge, but it's broken and they're trapped with hunters behind them. Even though it's high and Ellie has no idea how to swim, she jumps and so does Joel behind her. Water drags them and they get knocked out. When Joel comes to, Ellie is already standing and Sam and Henry are with her. Joel attacks Henry, but the latter points out that he left them, but they had a chance of making it, and they did. He came back for them, putting his brother at risk, but saved them nonetheless. They make it to the radio tower, and while Joel and Henry are bonding, Ellie goes to check on Sam. The kid is in a very serious mood, and they get to talking about their fears. Just before Ellie decides to leave for the night, she leaves Sam with a toy that he had been eyeing during their trek through the city. After she leaves, he looks at the toy and throws it on the ground. Then sits down to check on a bite mark he got at some point while they were being attacked by infected. In the morning, Ellie wakes up to the smell of Henry's cooking. When she asks about Sam, Henry tells her that he's letting him sleep in for once, but she's welcome to wake him up so he can join them for breakfast. Next, the adults hear a scream when she suddenly flies through the door, Sam attacking her, turned into one of the infected. Joel immediately reacts to shoot him, but Henry shoots at Joel and then at Sam. A very distraught Henry then puts a bullet in his own head. It is now fall, and Joel and Ellie arrive at a hydroelectric power plant in Jackson County, where Tommy is supposed to be. When they go to cut through the plant, they get held up at gunpoint by its occupants. A woman starts asking why they're there, when a voice from inside yells that they're okay. Then, Tommy opens the gate and walks out. When the woman walks out, he introduces her as Maria. She runs things and is Tommy's wife. Maria gets a call to go to the control room because they're going to turn the turbines back online so they can have electricity. She says that she'd rather eat with Ellie, so Tommy says that he'll go with Joel. The two brothers get some private time so they can talk, and Joel explains the situation to Tommy. Ellie is immune. He wants Tommy to take her off his hands and deliver her to the Fireflies. Tommy refuses. He now lives for his family and for the city that they're building in Jackson, not for the Fireflies or for anyone else. But their discussion gets interrupted when the plant falls under attack. After the firefight, Tommy agrees to take Ellie off of Joel's hands, but suddenly he gets a call saying that the girl took one of their horses and ran off. They find her later in a ranch in the woods. Joel and Ellie have a fight because the girl had figured out his plan to get rid of her and she was, understandably, hurt. Joel states that she is not her daughter and he is not her father, and they are going their separate ways. When they get back to the city limits though, Joel changes his mind. Something about the ride back must have given him a change of heart. He asks Tommy where the Fireflies are, to which he replies that they're at the University of Eastern Colorado, and then tells Ellie to give Tommy his horse back and get on his. He'll be keeping that one, if Tommy doesn't mind. They make it to the college only to find that the Fireflies have packed up and left. In a recording left by a now dead Firefly, they learn that they've gone back to a base and a hospital in Salt Lake City, Colorado. As they're planning on going there, they get attacked by a group that's arrived at the college. During the fighting, Joel falls off a second floor and onto a steel construction rod that stabs through him. Ellie helps a heavily wounded Joel get on the horse and ride away. Or at least they do until Joel collapses. It is now winter and Ellie is out hunting for food. She shoots a deer a couple of times and eventually finds the body when she's met with two other travelers, a man named David and a younger man named James. They say that they want to trade the deer for something that she may need. She asks for medicine. David tells James to go back to the camp and get penicillin. He'll stay behind. While they're waiting for James to come back with the antibiotics, they're attacked by a horde of infected. The two manage to defeat the horde, and while resting, Ellie learns that David is the leader of the group of hunters that attacked her and Joel in the college. Nevertheless, he trades her the deer for the penicillin and offers her protection because it's not her fault, she's just a little girl. She turns him down and runs away. Ellie gets back to where she's hiding an unconscious Joel, administers the antibiotics, and falls asleep. In the morning, she hears sounds outside. When she goes to check, she sees that David's men tracked her. She gets on her horse and rides to lead them away from Joel. She manages to accomplish her goal, but gets captured in the process. Over at their town, Ellie regains consciousness and James goes to get David. The leader of the group talks with her. He wants her to join them because she's skilled. She turns him down though and breaks one of his fingers in an attempt to get the keys to her cage from him. She fails though, and David gives up on her. Now she dies. But not today. It can wait until the morning. Back at where he was resting, Joel wakes up and notices Ellie is missing and goes out to look for her. While searching for her, he's found by David's men who were searching for him. He manages to capture two of them and interrogate them for the location of the town they control. Meanwhile, David and James come get Ellie so they can kill her. But by telling them that she's infected, she creates enough of a distraction to escape. She makes her way to a restaurant, and as she's leaving the place, David barges in. In their struggle for her gun, they knock over a lamp and the restaurant starts to catch fire. They continue fighting while the fire spreads, until Ellie gets the upper hand on David and kills him. Out of frustration, she continues to hack away at him until Joel rips her off of him. Having been able to find her because the now blazing inferno was the biggest possible "I'm here" sign, and they both leave the town finally safe and done with their ordeal. It is now spring and the duo has finally made it to Salt Lake City. In their way to the hospital, they fall into deep waters in a tunnel and Ellie ends up unconscious because she doesn't know how to swim. Joel attempts to revive her when two Fireflies show up. One of them tells him to put his hands in the air, and since Joel doesn't comply because he's intent on reviving Ellie, he gets knocked out. When Joel comes to, he's in a hospital bed, and next to him is Marlene. She tells him that Ellie is fine and being prepped for surgery. A growth in her brain mutated, and that's what makes her immune. Their doctors are going to remove it in order to get the vaccine, but the surgery will kill her. He protests, but he tells her that this isn't about Ellie, or him, or Marlene herself. It's about the future, and she is the only option they have. The Firefly in the room with them is to escort him out of the premises so he can leave. But as he's being escorted, Joel overpowers the Firefly, gets the information of Ellie's location, and begins a rampage through the hospital in order to save his baby girl. Joel arrives at the operating room just before they begin. He shoots the doctor who tries to fend him off with a scalpel, picks up the anesthetized Ellie, and bolts out of there. When he makes it to the bottom floor of the parking garage, he's confronted by Marlene. She tries to convince him to give over Ellie because it's what she'd want and she wouldn't feel a thing. Joel kills Marlene, because if he left her alive, the Fireflies would never stop hunting Ellie. On the ride out of there, Ellie regains consciousness, and Joel tells her that they found the Fireflies, but they had dozens of more people that were immune and still hadn't been able to find a cure, so they stopped looking. And so, Joel takes them back to Tommy's so they can start a new life among family and, soon to be, friends. I'll be honest, I had always heard good things about the game, but I was not expecting the depth of story and how emotional it was gonna get. This is definitely a must play, even if you made it to this part of the video. Click that like button if you liked the video, subscribe if you really liked it. This has been Lore Logs Summed Up, and I'll see you next time.